Procurement Officer, Maryland Department of General Services. Next to me, this is Mr. Definition of Show Me Money. I'm sorry, I had to do it. I got his business card too, though, so I got there first. Can you discuss the importance of increasing contract opportunities for small and minority businesses that creates business growth and job creation potential that creates from Maryland small and minority business?
Absolutely. Let me start off by saying good morning. I want to recognize two members from my staff that are in here. Jasmine, they have the cameras here for me supporting. I have Jasmine right behind everyone.
Hi, Jasmine.
And to my left, I have Tone. So what I would like to do, I want to kind of start off a little bit differently, and I'm going to definitely get to the question. Hopefully I'm not long-winded here. Can I get a show of hands? How many of you operate in the quantum space? So I see two hands in the back. How many operate in the cyberspace? I see a few more hands. All right. I want to let you all know the state of Maryland's open to business, right? We're open for business regardless of what industry you operate in. We procure goods and services of all kinds. My office oversees construction, architecture and engineering, maintenance, information technology, professional support services, commodities, maintenance. So I don't want you to be deterred, right, just because we're focused as a state on certain areas. I want to make sure that you know Maryland's a very resilient state, especially with a lot of the turbulence that's occurring in the federal space right now. So let me kind of get back to the question. As many of you may be aware, minorities play a huge role in the economy. If you look at the national economy, minority entrepreneurs infuse about $2 trillion per year. Okay, let's talk about local, right? Because we're here in this local, that's called a sub-economy, but we're here in Maryland. In Maryland, if we just look at procurement alone, the procurement economy in Maryland is $68 billion. That's 17% of Maryland's gross domestic product in general. So let's really talk about procurement here. The reason that minorities are so important in procurement, I'm going to talk small and minorities, right? I'm going to start with minorities. The reason that minorities are so important in procurement is because minorities hire minorities. That's what the statistics show you. If you look at studies, let's say even from 2023, the Minority Business Development Agency, and let's pray for the MBDA, with all what's happening right now with the courts, but the Minority Business Development Agency did a study, and it showed that minority staff is generally about 65% of minority-owned firms. If you look at the counterparts, non-minority, is about 35%. So just that fact alone tells you that you need minority entrepreneurship to ensure that minorities are hired. If you look at it, again, you got to stop me because I keep going. If you look at what our governor is doing, I think you're witnessing a once-in-a-lifetime administration. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a part of the administration. I'm saying that because it's real. Look at the Procurement Reform Act of 2025 that just went through the House. It's right now, it just made it out of subcommittee yesterday. I'm ready for it to go to Senate floor. Maybe Senator Washington is going to be there for me while I'm not there, right? But if you look at all the things that are happening, even one aspect of that looks at workforce and supplier diversity plans. That's different. You've never heard of that in the state of Maryland. That's actually taking some of the best practices from states like Massachusetts. We're making sure that even the employees that work on our publicly led contracts are representative of the state at large. If you look at the supplier diversity, it's not about making one firm abundantly rich. It's about supporting all firms, right? Even if we take this out, and I'll take a step back, right? So we've spoken a bit about minority firms. Let's think about small business firms in general. I thought I saw some of my old small business colleagues in the room. I don't know if you all know the statistics. If you look at it's about 203,400, it goes up every year with inflation, but for every $203,400 that is provided as a contract award to small businesses, it creates or sustains one job. Small businesses are truly the heartbeat of our economy, and that's not just at the national level, that's at the state level. So it's extremely important, and that's why for the Procurement Reform Act of 2025, which is the governor's landmark legislation as it relates to procurement, we are looking at ways to increase our socioeconomic building for minority-owned businesses, our minority business enterprises. Not just establishing goals at the onset of a contract, but being able to increase those goals anytime subcontracting opportunities exist. I'm telling you, if you really pay attention, even the governor's landmark executive order that was issued December of 24, we're moving the needle, and you have states from around the country watching us. We are truly the North Star for the country right now.
Wallace, your last name is so appropriate. I love this. You're evangelizing us immediately in economic development here in Maryland. Wallace, can you discuss also, thank you. Gotta stay hydrated. Wallace, can you discuss how firms have recently lost federal contracts due to recent budget cuts and how they can pivot to state procurement opportunities, and also how it may represent entrepreneurship opportunities for aspiring business owners for those who have recently lost contracts subsequent to budget cuts? And it's interesting, John Mason and I were talking earlier, and he really believes this is a time now for federal employees who might have lost their jobs, unfortunately, to pivot into entrepreneurship. Yes. Can you tie those things together?
I think, in the midst of challenges, especially that we're facing on the federal front, we have to have a certain level of resiliency. It doesn't mean depart from the federal government, because that is a lot of spend. You're talking upward of $700 billion in spend. But again, we talked about Maryland's economy being close to 10% of that spend. If you look at state agencies proper, the state of Maryland procures maybe between $8 billion to $13 billion. This last fiscal year, we hit $13 billion, which was about a 70% increase in the amount of spend. This is state agencies proper, right? State agencies. This doesn't include the local municipality spend. It doesn't include the University of Maryland systems. But I think you need to look outward and not just public contracting. And you're hearing that from the Chief Procurement Officer for the state of Maryland. Look at also grant opportunities. There's way more money spent on grants than there is in contracts. And let me just give you that example, and that's in state and that's federal. Let me give you an example of that just at federal level, because I want to kind of level set here the dollar spent. If you look at departments like, we talked a bit about health earlier, if you look at departments like the Health and Human Services civilian agency for the federal government, they spend about roughly $25–30 billion in contracts. They spend upward of $1 trillion in grants, all right? Just kind of level set of how spending works. When you're looking at contracts, also look at grants and cooperative agreements, and look at how the state of Maryland stands. One of the challenges, and I gotta talk about the challenges here, because I don't wanna make it seem like it's an easy road transitioning from the federal space to the state space, but I'll tell you some things that our great governor's doing to ease that transfer there. But one of the challenges in moving from federal to state is the federal government, the authorities are generally the same. The authorities are made up from the Code of Federal Regulations or the Federal Acquisition Regulation that stems obviously from legislation. But when it comes to the state, you have the state constitution that provides procurement powers to the Board of Public Works, and that's unique for Maryland. There's no other state that has a Board of Public Works that's delegated procurement powers from the Maryland Constitution. But you have procurement powers that are delegated to the Board of Public Works, and then that's further delegated to primary units, which is kind of distinguished because, for instance, the Office of State Procurement is housed within the Department of General Services. That's why you see DGS behind my name, right? However, we have authority over the agencies and over the state on behalf of the government for procurement, but not every agency follows procurement law being state finance and procurement articles. You have a lot of agencies that have their own authority. Some authorities just because they do not have to follow state finance and procurement articles. Some authorities because they then take their regulations, their internal regulations, and they get them approved by the Board of Public Works. And the reason I'm saying this is you have to understand the flow of money and the authorities, what different state agencies can do, as further distinguished from counties and cities, the local municipalities, how their spend works, and what are their obligations as it relates to state legislation or state law. So you gotta understand that, and it's a different world. Even the way that cooperatives work, and cooperatives is a huge billion-dollar operation where you have entities that take contracts that are let by other states, and then agencies are allowed to piggyback on those. Meaning, you won't see competition at the local level. You'll see individuals selecting contracts that have already been let or competing contracts on that vehicle. And I'm getting to a granular level because if you do not understand this, you will miss the spend. All right, is akin to the federal government doing the interagency agreement, meaning that contract was not solicited for that particular opportunity. They have taken the work, the requirement, and they have shifted that requirement to a pre-existing contract. Since we're not the federal government, the pre-existing contract will be a contract that was led by another state. So I'm getting in the weeds because I want you to think about the things. I want you to be inquisitive when you're looking to transfer from the federal government to state opportunities. Also, the certification process. The federal government has both prime contracting and subcontracting socioeconomic programs. At the state level, there is just subcontracting socioeconomic programs. You have the Minority Business Enterprise Program and Veteran Small Business Enterprise Program, right? For minorities and women versus veterans. However, what this great governor has done is through legislation, which I believe is going to be passed. We only have a few days left before the legislative session is over. You're going to have a Veteran Small Business Enterprise Prime Contracting Program, right? Which is basically a play on the Vets First Act at the federal level. So you'll have an opportunity for veterans for the Department of Veteran and Military Families and the Military Department, but you'll also have increased billing by negotiation with the agencies. This is akin to what the Small Business Administration does for the federal government under 15 United States Code 644. Again, I'm giving you a lot of information because if you're going to pivot, you have to understand how we're operating, right? So the things to write down. Wallace has said a lot of things, and my colleagues up here looking at me, Wallace, be quiet, right? Look at the Governor's Procurement Reform Act of 2025, right? Procurement Reform Act of 2025. So you can see all of these major shifts. Also look at the Governor's Procurement Reform Executive Order. You can Google it just like that. I promise you it will come up. When you have your questions, send your questions in. I have a whole team of folks to answer your questions, walk you through the process, and get you acclimated. Sam from the city of Greenbelt.